Hello, everybody. It's that college football guy here with another video. Um, as promised, this one about Super League. Okay. We have heard a lot of things about this. Oh, this is going to happen. This eventually is going to happen. There's going to be something like this. And I've mentioned this on videos I've done, little bits here and there. I have done comments on this, on my videos, on other people's videos, dropping the hint. A super conference with the Big Ten and the SEC with an FBS. Not going to happen. I think something else is going to happen. I think we're about to see the birth of a new subdivision within Division 1. All right. Now, the whole key to all of this is the fact that if you're going to do a super conference or anything, you have to get the media rights and everything lined up so you could start a new one. The Big Ten's media deal ends in 2030. The SEC's ends in 2034. How would that line up to do a super conference? It wouldn't. The Big 12's ends in 2031. The ACC, 2027, 2037. It's all over the place. We don't know exactly what's going on with there, and until ESPN formally announces what's going on, but that's not going to happen. The lawsuits and everything else gets settled. That's a totally separate situation. Speaking of lawsuits, the ACC got the decision about the the motion, in regards to trade secrets to have the grant of rights sealed, and the judge made a decision that it's not completely sealed. Big Mountain Podcast made a video about that one. Go check it out. They did a deep dive on it. It's really informative about that one. Also, something else to shout out. Also, Greg Flugar and Kuz's Corner both made videos regarding Nebraska and possibly being kicked out of the conference because of certain things going on. And Kuz went in depth about all that, and so did Greg about all of this. About there's deadlines. Well, what's the deadline? Like I said, 2030, 2034 is the two separate media deals. That doesn't line up. 2031's for the Big 12. Going further deep against Conference USA. Theirs ends in 2028. They begin getting extension. The American ends 2032. The Mountain West Conference and the Pac-12, both of them are... Mountain West ends in 2026. Both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, whether it's two separate conferences or one, or how this ends up working, they want to do a 5-year deal because you can flip back to the market faster and get more money. Even if it's only like a $500,000 or $250,000, that's still more money faster in your apartment rather than waiting 10 years. So they're going to do a 5-year deal. That makes them 2031. The MAC is ending in the 26th season, 27, which would be 5 years. They'll do another deal, 2032, which happens to be the end of the college football playoff contract. It's 2031, 2032. I've been saying 2031, that area is when all of this, if it's going to happen, it's going to. Because the playoff is the key, not the media deal. And everybody says, like, with Nebraska being threatened to be kicked out of the conference, I think they might have gotten an ultimatum that by this date, like say June 30th, 2031, if you are not an AAU member, we're going to kick you out of the conference. Lawsuits be damned. Now, the problem is they're saying, okay, we're doing a super conference, but you can't get the two things together. I have been saying the fact, like, the SEC, the Big Ten, they have the Power Conference. They were originally the Autonomous 5, now they're the Autonomous 4. But they have a certain level of autonomy above the G5 conferences and everybody else, a certain level that they're allowed a certain autonomy with certain things that they can do. Well, the SEC and the Big Ten want to add more scholarships. They want to add, there's a bunch of things that's rumored out there, and some have been stated by various members of the SEC throughout the recent months and years. They would like to get it back to where it was scholarship-wise. Well, you can't do that in FBS now. So they have autonomy, but they want even more autonomy over what they have now. So I've said this before. We have FCS, the Football Championship Subdivision. We are currently with FBS, the Football Bowl Subdivision. It's time that there was to give birth, the genesis, the creation of FAS, the Football Autonomous Subdivision. They can have their own scholarship rules at the subdivision. They can have their own rules about visits and everything else, and NIL and paying players, and it's totally separate from FBS. Therefore, it's not a requirement. Everybody up here does it. You have to meet certain requirements to be here. And could set that up as a background plan, which could be in the works right now. Everybody say the Big Ten, the SEC, you break apart and form like NFL subdivisions. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything like that. You want it to be like that. No, you don't. The fact is, they say, well, you can't get everybody to go up because the media deals don't line up. Well, the media deals wouldn't matter if the entire conference moves up from FBS to FAS. The media rights agreement stays intact. The grant of rights stays intact because the entire conference remains together. Whoever's there when the move happens. They want you to spend more money on athletics and you don't, you could get kicked. Unless there's a grandfather clause where you don't. Whoever's in the conference, the entire conference moves up. That means doesn't matter when your media deal ends, doesn't matter when your grant of rights ends. You're moving the entire conference up to a new classification, so it changes nothing in those regards. Could the Big 12 do the same thing? What would the requirements be? Could you afford to have X number more scholarships in every sport? Could you afford to do that? Could you afford to pay all your athletes NIL guaranteed this minimal per athlete, every single athlete? Can you do that? School paying, not, and having to do this so you can get around these lawsuits. Could you do that? Can you afford that? What about the ACC? Could they afford to do it? Notre Dame could be an independent in FAS. They don't have to join a conference to go up. It's a new classification. They just have to pay the fee to move up. Or would they grant an amnesty window for anybody who meets qualifications that the NCAA deems you have to meet and verify it is done such that you do meet them? Probably do that a couple of years before it happens so they have enough time to verify. And move things forward. Notre Dame could move up and stay independent. They don't have to join a conference. It's a new classification. There's no super conference there. It's all for the super conference idea. NFL light idea was what some fans did for either to what they would hope to have happen or a scare tactic or whatever. The SEC and the Big Ten have never wanted that. They've never said they want it, and I still don't believe they want it now. They want to have more control over what they do. And if you create a new classification, you can have new rules in that new classification, that new subdivision. New rules that don't apply at FBS or FCS or Division II or Division III or NAIA or junior college. All those rules are separate. They're separate rules. This subdivision would have its own set of rules, so therefore they would have the autonomy to do what they want and could dictate what it was. And everybody else can follow suit or stay behind an FBS. Now, would there be more money in this subdivision? Obviously. I mean, that's Department of Redundancy department here. So, Super League? No. FAS? New subdivision? I think that's where this is going to go. That way, the SEC can remain intact, the Big Ten can remain intact. If the Big 12 wants to come up, if the SEC wants, well, we have to have the elite of the elite. No, you think that you have to have the elite of the elite. You think that. That's what you want. But that's not what the SEC and the Big Ten want. So take your wants out of it. You're not the one making the decision. They are. They want the conferences as a whole to remain intact, for the tradition to remain intact, for the rivalries to remain intact, and the financial opportunities to continue to grow. That means staying together. They know that. They know more about this than any of us do. So, I believe I said Super Conference, Super League? No. FAS, or whatever they choose to name it. I picked FAS because the fact is A, B, C. Just makes it a lot simpler. Championship subdivision, bowl subdivision. A is the top tier. It's A subdivision. Now, and you can create different rules. Now, is there a possibility that FAS may not be able to happen and they may have to go to like a Division 0? Or it's not even in D1? That's worst case scenario. Because at a D1 school, playing D2 is difficult. Getting games scheduled. And it'll be the same thing here, I believe. So I think Division 0 or somebody else suggestion, no, not a brand new division of football. Just with a new subdivision with a new set of rules within Division 1. FAS. That's what I'm calling it. Football. I've been hearing autonomy. It just makes too much sense. I mean, you drop enough hints. I mean, people pick up the breadcrumbs at this point. So, if you wanted to do this, you can move up and do this. So then, as you're doing this at 2031, 2032, you'd have to announce your intentions to do so. If the entire conference moves up, there's no need for having to do grant of rights and media deals. Would the Big 12 be able to afford to do so? Would the ACC be able to afford to do so? Any of the G5s? No. 100 and something scholarships, paying players, they can't afford that. They're going to be staying right where they're at. So what this is going to do is, the problem is, if you're at a new classification, a new scholarship levels, here's the problem that a reason why it's hemming and hawing at this. There is essentially a difference in rules that would be created. Scholarship levels, paid athletes, that would create a distinct disadvantage to anyone who's not practicing it. And therefore, that's the reason why you'd be a new subdivision. If you are FAS, a new subdivision, you could schedule FBS, FCS schools to play in the regular season, but you can't play them in the postseason. That means you have your own college football playoff. The contract expires. That lines up. No NCAA tournament as it exists now. You would be in your total separate one. The UConns, the Gonzagas, and whatnot would have their own tournament. And there are quite a few successful programs there that it would hurt a little bit in basketball, but not as much. It also depends how many from the ACC and the Big 12 may not be able to afford to move up and would stay down. They'll lose a lot of money in the process, because that's a distinctive money drop. But that's a possibility, because it also depends. The fact is, it's not most likely going to be the athletic directors making the decision. It's going to be the university chancellors, the presidents. And the boards of regions, the respective universities and states and whatnot, be making the decisions here. So could they go up to the next level? Would it be a new conference? I fully believe they're going up. They're not going to create NFL subdivisions and totally throw away the rivalries. We're going to have Atlanta and Ohio State, Alabama and Ohio State, Michigan, the same subdivision. No, you're not. No. Stop putting your dream world ideas that have no basis in reality out there. No. The conferences will remain intact. Relatively. There's a possibility of schools could be cut between now and then. That's a possibility. The Nebraska situation, the university president mentioned the fact that they're feeling their spot in the Big Ten is not guaranteed. That tells me they were given an ultimatum. They were given a deadline. We're going to be doing something by this date. You haven't done anything for over a decade. Why would you do this now? Maybe you want to move up to a new subdivision and cut, and anybody who doesn't meet the criteria, get rid of them? It won't be at your financial level. Now, Nebraska wouldn't be dropped down, and he does a video about this. Coos did a video about this, about where they could go. They may still end up in this FAS, just not in the Big Ten and making as much money. But, like I said, Super League, no. New subdivision, yes. I think this is the genesis of FAS. The breadcrumbs are being dropped. The NCAA president, Charlie Baker, dropped the hint. Maybe it's time for a new classification within college athletics. Yeah, FAS. He dropped the hint. Apparently some of us weren't paying attention. But I think that's where we're going. I don't think we're getting a Super League. I think we're getting a new subdivision. I picked FAS as the name. They may pick something else. But that's what I thought it was going to be. The ABC, it makes too much sense. It fits in. They may not choose autonomous. They may pick something, another word or something or whatever. But that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. But why don't you let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't done it already, do me a favor. Smash the like button. Hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Helps the video be seen by more people. Comment on the video and let me know what you think about this. Because I just look at a super league, super conference, in FBS. Too many hoops to jump through. But if you create a new subdivision with this new set of rules, the whole conference could jump up and it gets rid of all the problems. You wouldn't have to worry about fighting other FBS universities for having to pay players. You go to the new subdivision and you do it yourself. That subdivision, you pay the athletes. That's part of the rules of being there. So that eliminates the fact of having to ask everybody else's permission or get their permission or having them agree. It eliminates that issue. But like I said, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. Share the video if you want to. And if you haven't already, check out some of the videos I've done. If you like them, subscribe to the channel. Just on our little growth pattern here, trying to get this thing up to 1,000 subscribers. Slowly but surely, we're crawling our way up. Emphasis on crawling. But it's the way it goes. I'm not the fancy YouTubers out there with all the fancy graphics. I'm just a truck driver on a cell phone who tries to bring some common sense into college football. Common sense. I know, that curse word. I know. But some of us have got to try. There are some of us who are doing it now in the college football world on YouTube. Fellow content creators. Some, not so much. But it's all entertaining, which is kind of the point. So thanks everybody for watching. Whoever's having a great Wednesday. Rainy here in Kentucky, heading up to Michigan again. Be stopping in Detroit. We'll see how that goes. So gonna be fun. So thanks everybody for watching. Be safe out there, and please be good to each other.